So, welcome to this edition of 22nd Century Management with Ken. And we have with us a very interesting guest. We've got Earl Everson. For those of you that are on LinkedIn, you probably know Earl. If not, you've not been paying a lot of attention. But we're going to talk to Earl today. We're going to talk with him a little bit about his background. We'll talk with him about his current strategy, how it's working for him. And so, Earl, I know you run Elite Copy Systems in Chicago.
Document Solutions.
I'm sorry, but tell us more about your company and your background and how you got started in marketing.
Oh yeah, great question. So we're based in a city called Schaumburg. We're about 40 miles west of downtown Chicago. And so we're primarily a Xerox partner here. We love the products. We love the company branding. And, we're just out and about, just trying to make things happen and growing the business. So that's about it. As far as marketing, today, Ken, I was driving in and I started to think about this whole I've always been into marketing myself, marketing different parts of my life, and as well as the company. I've been on LinkedIn now for about 6.5 years, trying to get attention. And that's what branding is all about. But back in the day, I was 16, 17 years old, and a long time ago, like 30 something years ago. But anyway, we had a band, and throughout this thing of having a band, I wanted to market our band to major record labels. And that's where it kind of really took off. I got so much enjoyment out of marketing this band. And so I pulled something up. I'm going to show you real quick. This is how we used to market back in the day. Now we have social media. But everything you're going to see here is something that I created, again, still in junior high school. But that was our band name. We were called Fellas. Okay, we're band members of 5. And I pulled this up, and what I would do, and you can notice here, everything is on a dot matrix. That's how old this is. I still have it. And I would pull all of the record labels throughout the country, the top executives, record producers, you name it. And here I would jump on the old traditional phone, no email at the time, and I would contact them, and I would market our band like we are the next greatest thing, that we want to be a part of your label. And I would set up appointments for us to fly to New York, fly to Atlanta at the time, fly everywhere to meet these record labels, these top executives. And I had so much fun doing it. And again, back in the day, we would have resumes of who we are, how old we were, so on and so forth. And that's kind of where it took off. And from that point, I realized that, hey, you know what? Getting attention is the ultimate goal. How do you get attention? Here we are 35 years later, and now I'm doing it from a company standpoint. How do I get attention from different people out there? But more importantly, how can I give a shotgun approach through social media, but also give a rifle approach that everybody on LinkedIn, they don't see my rifle approach, but that's kind of the secret sauce. How do I get attention? How do I set appointments with top executives by targeting them through LinkedIn?
Okay. And as I mentioned, I see you everywhere. And of course, you and I know each other, we've known each other for a while. Yeah. But one of the things that you probably do more than anybody I've ever seen is you go live on LinkedIn. And so what got you started doing that, and how's it working for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, live has been a great thing. And my live shows are pretty much off the cuff. It's something that may have happened the previous day or even that day. And I just want to kind of get it out there because I think it's critical to share and help educate customers on my industry. At the end of the day, Ken, I want to be the expert. I want to be the brand here in Chicago. There's much larger competitors out there, just like anywhere else. However, if you were to ask anybody on LinkedIn, who's the guy in Chicago that's selling hardware, selling technology products, 9 times out of 10 they're going to say Earl out of Chicago, right? And so even though sometimes they may deal with me directly, and they may not, but at the end of the day, they're still doing business with Elite Document Solutions. They're still getting Xerox technology. Again, Xerox, the best in the business as far as branding. That's why we wanted to partner with those guys. Thought I'd plug that in real quick. But anyway, it's kind of like, I want to be the brand, and eventually the branding may go more towards Elite Document Solutions. I don't know, but right now I want the attention. I want to work with companies. But more importantly, I want to help companies brand better, and that's working directly with me.
Okay, yeah, and I see all of these things that you're doing, and I have a little bit of marketing background in that I started. We were talking before we started today that I go back to J. Conrad Levinson and guerrilla marketing, and I read that book, and I was like, oh, there's some ton of stuff in there, because he talked in that book a lot about getting your name and your face in front of people in ways that make them think of you as an expert. One of the things he talked about back then was getting on other people's radio shows, so if you have a local, like a public radio station, you could be on there and talk about your industry and what you do. You can't sell, but you could go in and position yourself as an expert. And that's what I see you doing with your LinkedIn presence is trying to position yourself as an expert. You said a lot of what you do is off the cuff, and that's interesting, because I also have a travel channel, and on my last trip, when I was doing some videos, I started doing just little live things to YouTube and to Instagram about where I am, what I'm doing, very much off the cuff like you do, except I'm probably not as polished as you are about it, because I've watched yours. You do a really good job with it. But so, are you doing anything besides Instagram, or is your focus all on Instagram? I mean, I said Instagram.
LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn is, to be honest, Ken, it's really that's my lane I stay in. The things I do on Instagram and Facebook, it's for fun, it's for personal things, it's to be funny, right? But for me, capturing business, and I don't care whoever's watching this, anyone that's on social media, especially LinkedIn, they want to grow their business and they want to generate more sales, period. And that's where I do it. Instagram has their lane, and that's more about physical appearance and material things and stuff. LinkedIn is about helping companies, helping each other. And how do you do that? And again, at the end of the day, Ken, we sell technology products. However, my focus with companies are branding. I want to help them brand better. And that's by utilizing myself and the products and services that I use, right? And the companies that don't see us as a branding company, or that we can help them brand better, then we kind of, work those customers internally more so. Like, I kind of put them off to somebody else to work that, because I want to focus on people that see the value add in working with Earl, right? There's no comparison with Earl with anybody else in this industry. I don't care who they are. I don't care what marquee they have behind them. There is nobody else that's going to compare with my mindset and what I bring to the table. And when customers say, no, this is all I want, then that's the customer that we'll still keep them in the funnel, but I kind of pass them off, and I focus on people that want to work directly with me and they want to brand better and grow their business, because I'm going to help them.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was one of the things I've noticed, is that you've reached out to other dealers and you've had some outreach in some of your LinkedIn lives to other companies that about working with you and helping to position them. I thought that was kind of interesting, again, because again, it's not maybe what people would expect to be typical.
Yeah.
Are you getting some attention from that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I get a lot of attention, a lot of people that want to, because face it, social media is new. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, what did we do? We would open up a phone book and go through the yellow pages, right? And now, Facebook came along, or MySpace came along, and it's like, how can we utilize that? That wasn't really a good ground floor operation or social media platform to really brand your organization. It was about, hey, look at me, here's my family, happy birthday, right? But with LinkedIn, I've been on LinkedIn now maybe 6.5 years, and I would say for the past year is when I've been getting all of my traction. For 5 years, I've been putting out content nearly every single day, getting people to know me. A, do they like me? B, do they not like me? There's a lot of people out there, by the way, that don't like me, but that's okay, right? There's a lot of people that love me, and those are the people that I want to work with. And through LinkedIn is how I do it. Listen, there's mega dealers out there. There's mega operations out there that could utilize social media differently to really double their business, truly. But I think a lot of organizations can, I think, especially in our industry, right? Everybody's set in their ways, and they are set in their ways and they don't want to change. COVID, however, put me to a point where I saw myself maybe 3 or 4 years from now. It just sped the process up. And here I am, right? I cover a lot more ground. I touch a lot of people every single day through social media, through a lot of the digital marketing that I do. And I'm getting away from the traditional, I don't want to have people walking up and down the streets. And I know there's probably people listening saying, what? That's what we do. No, that's what you do. What I do is I want to be a brand. I want to be the expert in digital marketing and capture that business. I want to have people pick up their phone and say, hey, Earl, I need you to come in here. That is the ultimate sale. And Ken, they're always saying it takes 5 to 7 touches to get a customer to see you or to buy from you. Well, let me tell you, many times I'm touching that customer 5 times a day in different ways. Okay. And that is why it's so powerful for me. And I don't mind sharing the information because people can scale it. They can do their own thing. But again, they're not going to be Earl and do it Earl's way. Right. So.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in the service management class I teach, one of the things I talk to the service managers about is the fact that when somebody emails your company and says you had a tech that does a good job, what you should immediately do is schedule a Zoom call, record it, and that should show up on your website. And that's just a real simple piece of social media. But the power of customer testimonials is huge. And too many dealers, you look at their website, there's not much in the way of testimonials up there.
Yeah.
People have blinders on about, again, like you said, it's hard to get people to change in our industry. West and I, we talked to people about flat rate, and people are so stuck in their ways and in believing that the billing model of the past is going to be the billing model of the future. And it's kind of like people think that Yellow Page is a good place to spend ad money now.
True. No, absolutely. When I started talking about the flat rate, I was like the craziest thing that's ever come out to LinkedIn. It's like, what is this guy talking about? He's crazy. And here, many of those companies are trying to figure out how are they going to counter the flat rate against me, right? So I just want to make a huge impact in this marketplace, whether it's different marketplaces, doesn't matter. But this marketplace, I want to make a huge impact, and I want to be the voice. I want to be the expert. Because a marquee will not make Earl Everson. Earl Everson will make Earl Everson. And I want to brand into different things over time.
Well, I'm a firm believer that the more value we can offer a customer, the more we can bring to the table, it opens up opportunities. Yeah. And it was interesting when I had my business, one of the things that people thought I was silly, but I would sell them pretty much anything they wanted to buy. Mm-hmm. And part of the reason for that was once they're a customer, everything else gets to be easier. Yeah. So it doesn't matter why they buy from you or why they start to engage with you. And the same thing is true even with just plain engagement, because once we get people in a conversation with us, the old adage is people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And if they see you and develop a little bit of trust in you, and they see that you're consistent and that you live up to what you say, they start to like you.
Period. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And if you think about, Ken, like on a daily basis, we make decisions based on brand, right? Every single day. And I want to be that brand in our industry, period. So again.
Yeah. It's kind of like, would you hand me a Kleenex? or I want to buy a Xerox.
There you go.
I need a Xerox machine.
Make that Xerox, baby.
But again, we start to associate these things. I want a Coke.
Yeah.
Now in the South, it's I want a soda or something else. But I mean, what I'm saying is we get the brands that have done a really good job. They become synonymous with the product category.
Correct. That's right.
And so if you can become synonymous with the best person in town on marketing, that's a good thing. If associated with that, you have the best method or the best plan to buy equipment, that's a good thing as well. So those things go hand in hand. I like, you're probably familiar because West and I use this all the time, is what Gary Vee said about, no, it wasn't Gary Vee. It was, I'll come back to Gary Vee in a minute. Seth Godin about the purple cow. Mm-hmm. You've heard our story, right, about that?
For sure. Yep.
Yeah. And I think that is so interesting because, and for those that hadn't heard it, you should turn into West and I tomorrow at 10, because we always talk about the purple cow because I like the purple cow. But it was, the story is basically that, there was an individual that had a purple cow in the field, and all these people were stopping to look at this purple cow. Now the field was full of black and white cows. Everybody, all the other cows would look normal. And the only one that everybody talked about was the purple cow. So in Earl's case, he's the purple cow selling flat rate, and we use that with West and I as well. But it's when you start to differentiate yourself as a brand, as a company, as a service that you offer, and you're selling something different than everybody else, it does two things for you. First of all, there is no competition. If you're the only guy that's got a purple cow, there is no competition for you.
Correct.
And
Correct.
Secondly, they'll remember the purple cow better than they remembered all those other black and white cows out there.
That's right. Even though I'm wearing black and white today, because I thought, I said I'm going to wear black and white today because social media is black or white. It's either you're doing it or you're not doing it, right?
Okay, very good. So what advice would you have for our audience if let's say maybe they're not as active on social media as you are, which would apply to 99.9999% of them. What would you say to them about social media?
Back to each business, every company, that's why everybody has a sales force, right? They have a sales force to grow their business the old traditional way. They're touching a few new prospects a day, a few customers a day. It's always a few. I want to touch thousands a day, right? Just myself. I want to touch thousands of people and get attention every single day. And it's always a question, why does the leadership of each organization, and I'm not just talking about copier dealerships, right? I'm talking about businesses across the country. Why do they shy away from something that could be so powerful for their business if executed properly? Right? If you do it properly, if you have a mission, like on Sundays when I come in here, Ken, I'm already writing out like, what are my videos going to be for the week? What's my talk track? What am I going to be focusing on for the week? And that keeps me focused. My live videos really aren't, like I said, those are kind of off the cuff because something happened or I talked to a customer or whatever it is. But the videos that I do, the other videos, not the live, but those are kind of plotted out throughout the week. I already know what I'm going to be talking about next week, right? And throughout the course of the week, I start thinking about, okay, how can I relate that message to every other company out there? And again, back to your question, every business needs to grow. Every leader wants to grow, but they shy away from social media. And number one, you have to be patient. You have to be patient because, for the first 4.5, 5 years on LinkedIn, I kept asking myself, is this going to be worth it? Now, today I say, absolutely, it's been worth it. And my goal is to do in 1 year, I want to do 7 figures in business from LinkedIn alone, where people are calling me and it wasn't something that was in my funnel. That's my goal, is to generate $1 million in sales directly through this platform. Okay. And we'll get there. No question about it. We will get there. And so anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say, and it's interesting because You mentioned something in there that I love is the fact that you have to be patient with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say this is true about any kind of marketing, but in particular with social media marketing, you have to make enough impressions and do it long enough to have some consistency,
Yes.
and you have to build up the volume. It is, yeah, I've seen this in my YouTube channel for travel. In the probably first 2 solid years that I had my YouTube channel, I got to like 300 subscribers. In the last year, I've added 500 subscribers. So what happens is it's almost a logarithmic effect that as it starts to build, that the pace then starts to accelerate because of the interactions with people with you. So in social media, what causes the algorithms, the driving force on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, any of those engines is that as people start to take notice of you, then they start to help you and start to promote you. And
Yeah.
so that process continues.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And back to your point, Ken, being patient, again, you have to be patient, but you have to be persistent, like you said. So in sales, right? In sales, you have to be consistent. You got to be persistent at what you're doing. And you got to know exactly what your target market is, your approach to every single company. Every company is different as far as their needs analysis and what is their buying triggers, right? Social media is the same thing. You have to be consistent with this platform. You got to be persistent with it. And you got to constantly create content all the time. And it will pay off. But again, back to that, not many people know where to start. I get a lot of calls, a lot of emails, and people call me. It's like, what do I talk about? I'm like, do I bring a copier in here and start talking about it? Or do I do this and start talking about, like, what do I do? You have to be creative, right? It's like somebody was asking me, man, do you ever run out of content? No, I don't, because every single day is different. Every single customer is different. And I look for the stories out of every experience that I have. I'm trying to find that story. Like, this is a great story. So why not share it? Because there's going to be thousands of people that can relate to it, you know? So again, open your eyes in every situation and try to grasp, as much as you can out of it. Squeeze that lemon and make as much lemonade as you can out of every single thing. So when I talk to a customer and they share a bad experience or a good experience, I want to share that because that's more content for the end user.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because, I have a story that I tell because a lot of people don't know this, but I am the person that is responsible for cost per copy. You didn't know that, did you?
I knew that, but I wasn't going to bring that up because now we've gone away from that platform. So, but anyway, no, absolutely.
Because I used to go in to a customer that somebody else was their customer, and I would offer to sell them toner cheaper, OEM toner cheaper than that, because I could buy it in the wholesale market. Everybody was skating stuff sideways to make quota, and pretty soon the only way to retain your toner business was to go to cost per copy, which at that point I wasn't as good at competing in.
Yeah.
And so it's about, you find the unique thing. And so I tell that story often just because it illustrates the fact that we haven't always had the same model we have today. Models change because of the environment around us.
Yeah.
But I like stories. And I think that dealers, I'm going to talk about YouTube for just a second, because I think that the second most important social media market is YouTube. Because do you know what the second biggest search engine in the world is?
It's Google, right? Or YouTube.
Google's first.
Yeah.
YouTube is second.
Yeah.
Because and guess who owns YouTube? Google. So you think about it from that perspective, and there are so many ways. I talked about customer testimonials, but what about educational videos you think about the power of this as just a good example. On your YouTube channel, I'm not a fan of using YouTube to sell copiers, not necessarily. I am a fan of using YouTube as an educational tool, again, to position yourselves as experts.
That's right.
But so somebody calls in and I've got this indication on my control panel. Imagine what happens if you have a YouTube video that shows exactly what to do when you get that indication on your control panel, and it walks the customer how through to solve it. And now your dispatcher says, well, here, let me share you a link to a video that might help you with that. I'll put the service call in. If that fixes it, let me know. You might avoid the service call. And, again, you started to create that's a tool, and you've given the customer something to make them feel good about the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think the same thing with educating. A good example is paper. You think about how many times paper causes problems and how reluctant customers are to believe it. So think about a YouTube video that showed the impact of something like moisture. And I relate to moisture really well because I when I had my dealership, I was in El Paso. And in El Paso, you use evaporative cooling to cool buildings, which is, imagine having a huge humidifier on your roof, pumping in as much moisture into the air as possible.
Wow.
And now it's a school, and you let that paper sit out in the open for 3 weeks, and you try to make a copy. And I'd have people, I'm getting blank copies out of my copies. So do me a favor, let's try this again. Make a copy. It's blank. Okay, put that in the bypass and feed it through again. Oh, it's a perfect copy. Oh, your paper's wet. You need to get some fresh paper, and that'll fix your problem. But imagine the power, and I was having to do that over the phone and walk them through the process. Imagine the power of that kind of a video that educates customers, or a difference in copy quality. So there's so many ways. And that is, like I said, that would be in the business industry. That would be my second choice, because YouTube is, first of all, a great place to store videos because you can just post the link to your website. It makes it easy. You don't have to natively upload it and take up the storage. But also gives you a place that your customers can find you, because if they're searching for impact of moisture on paper, for example, and they find your video.
Yeah.
So there's just so many tools.
Yeah, no, for sure. And back to your point, Ken, when you stop selling and you start educating, it's a game changer. It truly is a game changer. And when I first got on the social media, I was like, old school, sell, right? Products, just, spewing product information. And then I started to go back and I started to watch some of the videos. And I'm like, man, I'm like this old school guy trying to get into the new world of social media, but I'm doing it in the old style of where I'm always trying to sell. I need to stop trying to sell, and I need to start educating customers, however that is, educating, testimonials, branding, promote, and that's when the tables started to turn for me from that point on. But again, so many people out there, there's 5 copier companies calling on every single company every single day. And the last thing they want to do is listen to somebody on LinkedIn always talk about speeds and feeds, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I need to change the game. Like flat rate, game changer. Educating customers on social media, game changer. How do you do it, right? How do you educate? So, like I said, I'm always looking, critiquing, trying to figure out, but more importantly, I listen to the end user. I listen to customers. What do you want to know, right? And how can I help you? So,
yeah, and so here's a good thing, at the bottom of your thing, ask them, what kind of video would interest you? What would you like to know more about?
correct.
Because let the customer tell you. And it's interesting because too many times we tell the customer what they want rather than listening to them.
Yeah, no,
Sure. And I want to bring in my Gary Vee quote now, because you were talking about, educating the customers. And he says that, and in particular in the social media world, that you give, and then you ask.
Correct. That's right.
Because if you are generous and you give to people, it creates that sense of connection and appreciation for who you are as an individual. Because if somebody's always giving to you and then they ask a little favor in return, you're pretty likely to do that, and you're more likely to engage. Whereas if it's always ask, pretty soon you just turn that channel off. You don't listen to it anymore.
100%. Well, but in the business world, especially the copier industry, everything is a short-term mentality, right? It's like, today, 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 today. Ask for the order today, 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 right? So again, that was my mindset when I started on social media, and I was like, I need to take a step back and kind of rebrand myself and rebrand my approach, because I built this following and I built a customer base up here in Chicago. But again, it's always changing. My mind is always constantly moving about how can I become better in social media.
Yeah, that pursuit of excellence is so important. And I'm going to share with the audience a book, and this was a formative book for me. In fact, it's required reading in my service manager's class. But the book is Customers for Life, and it was by Carl Sewell, and he built the most successful luxury car dealership in America and probably in the world. And he, inherited it from his dad. But one of the key foundations that he thought about, and I'll just share this. This is good information here, so I'll share it. I love this perspective. Is he thought about how much would a luxury car customer, and he did the math, but spend on luxury cars during the course of their life. And in the first edition of the book, I want to say it was about 300,000. I think now it's over 500,000 in the most recent edition. But then he used the premise. He says, if you treat the guy that comes in for an $18 oil change like he's a $300,000 customer, how's he going to feel about doing business with you? And so if you think about that in the copy industry, we very often have customers that are multi-million-dollar customers over their lifetime. And if we learn to treat them like that and value them and respect them like that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No.
Anyway, like I said, I love that book. That's why my students have to read it, whether they like it or not. But there's a lot of it deals with service. One of the things he talked about in the book too was ask your customers what they want. I am a firm believer that we do lunch and learn in our industry backwards. Because usually if we do a lunch and learn, we invite them in to show them something. Imagine inviting your best customers in and ask them, say, listen, I'd like you to come in and like to talk to you for a little while. I want to pick your brains. No sales, not going to sell anything, try to sell anything, talk about selling anything. I want to feed you lunch and ask you some questions. And imagine the value of the answer to this question is, what technology issue do you have that you'd like a solution to? Now, if you knew that about every one of your customers, how valuable would that be?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Good stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, I appreciate your time, Earl. I appreciate all of you that are here watching it. If you're watching on the replay, I will tell you this: if you put comments in, put questions in the comments either on LinkedIn or on YouTube, I check to see. We'll get you an answer. Either I'll get you an answer, or I'll put you in touch with Earl. And for those that want to get in touch with Earl, how can they get a hold of you easy?
Yeah, no, it's Earl at EliteDocument.com. Also, Ken, I'll put this out there for any dealership, any company, I don't care what industry, you all have Salesforce. If you're looking to grow your brand, to grow your sales, generate more revenue, I'm looking to consult too on the side with this, because I have a huge passion about marketing and helping other companies become better. Right. So if they're out there listening, send me an email, Earl at EliteDocument.com.
Okay. And we'll put that information in the comments on both of them. Now, I do have one question. Does that include people in Schaumburg?
It could be next door. I don't care.
Okay. I put a real picture on that. Anybody that's not in Illinois or Wisconsin,
it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay. I've had so much fun, Earl. It's been nice talking to you. We'll say goodbye to the folks, and you and I can chat for a second after.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. Like I said, it's been fun having you here. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, Ken.